Your skin instructor's tip of the week. One of the easiest ways to become more confident when treating acne isn't memorizing more product names, it's understanding what ingredients are actually doing inside the skin. When you understand how ingredients work, you'll be able to evaluate products more effectively, build better treatment plans, and explain your recommendations with confidence.
Welcome back to the Skin Instructors. I'm Jolie.
And I'm Morgan. Today's episode is all about acne ingredients. This is a topic that comes up constantly in aesthetics because acne clients are often using multiple products, following recommendations from social media, and trying ingredients they've heard about online.
And honestly, that can create a lot of confusion. Clients come in asking whether they should use salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, adapalene, retinol, azelaic acid, niacinamide, and the list goes on and on.
And the challenge is that none of those ingredients are universally right or wrong. They're just tools. And the effectiveness of any tool depends on whether it's being used for the right purpose.
Yeah. Today, we're going to break down some of the most commonly used acne ingredients and explain what they actually do, how they fit into an acne treatment plan, and how to determine when they're appropriate.
But before we start discussing individual ingredients, I think it's important to step back and look at the bigger picture. One of the mistakes people make when learning about acne ingredients is viewing them as completely separate tools.
hmm As a reminder, with acne treatments, we're trying to accomplish three goals. First, we want to reduce the excess sebum production. We want to reduce inflammation. And then we want to improve exfoliation and normalize cellular turnover so that dead skin cells can no longer contribute to those clogged follicles.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for reminding our listeners of that. Remember, there's three things to acne that you have to take care of. Jolie just went over those.
Absolutely.
Almost every single ingredient that will be discussing today accomplishes one or more of those goals. Some primarily reduce oil, some reduce inflammation, some increase exfoliation cell turnover, and a few help with multiple pathways at the same time.
So, as we go through today's episode, I want listeners to keep asking themselves, which of these three goals does this ingredient support? Because once you understand that, selecting ingredients becomes much easier.
I think also asking yourself, am I hitting all three of these goals?
Mhm.
While you might be reducing inflammation, you still aren't tackling the oil or
Yep,
the cell turnover, and you're not going to get the results.
absolutely.
So before we start discussing specific ingredients, let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention. Oil soluble versus water soluble ingredients.
And this matters because acne is largely happening inside the follicles where oil is present. So, oil soluble ingredients are able to penetrate into that oily environment more effectively.
And a great example of this is salicylic acid because it's oil soluble. It can travel into the pore and help break apart congestion.
hmm Water soluble ingredients work differently. That doesn't make them less effective. It just simply means that they're targeting different processes.
Yeah, and understanding where an ingredient works often helps explain why it works. I think one of the biggest misconceptions in skincare is that higher percentages automatically mean better results.
Clients can often ask for the strongest version of something because they've been taught that stronger equals more effective,
Mhm.
but that's not always the case.
It's not. And if we're creating excessive irritation, dryness, redness, and inflammation, we're actually going to be moving further away from our goals.
Especially because inflammation is one of the major drivers of
Mhm.
acne. Creating more inflammation while trying to treat acne usually isn't a winning strategy.
Right. And the concentration matters too. But so does the formula, the delivery system, the client's skin, the overall treatment plan,
Abs-
all of the above.
Absolutely.
So let's start with benzoyl peroxide. One of the reasons it's remained relevant for decades is that it directly targets one of the three goals for acne, which is reducing inflammation.
And by introducing oxygen into the follicle, benzoyl peroxide helps reduce that C. acnes populations, which decrease grease is one of the major inflammatory triggers involved in acne.
Yeah, and this makes it particularly effective for inflammatory acne. So think papules, pustules, those angry red breakouts that clients hate seeing.
Yep. Yeah. And while benzoyl peroxide isn't necessarily reducing oil production, reducing bacterial driven inflammation can significantly improve the acne outcomes.
hmm Yeah, it's going to be available in multiple strengths, but higher percentages aren't always better. Research has shown that lower strengths between 2.5 and 5% often perform similarly with less irritation. Now, you're going to hear a lot about salicylic, mandelic, glycolic acid. Let's compare these three acids commonly used in acne protocols.
Yeah, so starting with salicylic acid, we kind of already touched on this earlier, but salicylic acid supports a few of our acne treatment goals. So it helps reduce inflammation and excess oil, and more importantly, increases exfoliation within that follicle.
Because it's oil soluble, it excels at breaking apart congestion and improving that comodonal acne.
Then we have mandelic acid, and that works a little differently. It has a larger molecular size and it penetrates more slowly, making it a great option for sensitive acne prone clients.
And it also offers anti inflammatory benefits. It can support exfoliation, and it's excellent for eliminating that fungal acne commonly seen on the forehead.
Yeah. Then we have glycolic acid. So, glycolic primarily targets exfoliation and improves that cellular turnover.
And it can be incredibly helpful for texture, dullness, and post inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Now, if we had to identify one ingredient category that's most strongly associated with increasing cell turnover, it's got to be retinoids.
Yeah. Retinoids help normalize how skin cells are shed inside the follicle. And that means fewer clogged pores and fewer opportunities for microcomodomes to develop.
Whether we're talking about adapalene, tretinoin, retinol, or retinol, they're all ultimately going to help improve cell turnover.
Mhm. And some retinoids may also help reduce inflammation and influence oil production over time, which means they can support all three acne treatment goals to varying degrees.
Next up, we've got sulfur, azelaic acid, and niacinamide. These, I would say, are some of the most underrated acne ingredients.
I agree. Sulfur's definitely underutilized, I
hmm
think. It helps with reducing excess oil while providing mild keratolytic activity. So we're addressing sebum production and some exfoliation at the same time.
And then azelaic acid might be one of the most versatile
Mhm.
ingredients we have because it can also help reduce inflammation, it can normalize cell turnover, and improve pigmentation concerns.
Niacinamide is another ingredient that supports multiple pathways. It helps regulate oil production, calm inflammation, and support barrier function simultaneously.
Now, I think, talking about acne ingredients, we would definitely be missing out if we didn't talk a little bit more about tyrosinase inhibitors, specifically for people who are dealing with PIH.
Yeah.
Because for many acne clients, the breakout isn't the thing that they're most frustrated by,
Mm.
it's the mark that remains afterwards.
Yeah, and this is where those tyrosinase inhibitors become important. While these ingredients aren't necessarily treating acne itself, they're treating one of acne's most common consequences.
Right. Some of our favorites are kojic acid, arbutin, tranexamic acid, vitamin C, azelaic acid. All of these ingredients are going to help interrupt pigment production and also improve that PIH.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the part where acne clients overlook. So, you can reduce oil, you can reduce inflammation, you can increase cell turnover, but if you destroy the barrier in the process of that, you're going to have a completely other problem.
Exactly. The aim isn't to achieve the highest level of exfoliation or the driest skin or even remove every bit of oil from the surface. Instead, the focus is on effectively targeting those three pathways while ensuring the skin remains healthy enough to handle the treatment.
That's where ingredients like ceramides, cholesterol, fatty acids become incredibly important for the skin.
Absolutely.
All right, matching ingredients to the type of acne. So, this is where treatment planning can become really fun.
hmm Because now we can start looking at the client's skin behavior and deciding which pathway needs the most support.
hmm So, oily skin, maybe we focus more heavily on sebum reduction. Doesn't mean we're not going to target the inflammation and the cell turnover, but we're just a little bit heavier on controlling that oil.
Absolutely. In inflamed acne, we're going to start prioritizing some anti inflammatory ingredients, but still making sure I'm keeping up with their exfoliation and that sebum
hmm
production.
And then if you're experiencing more comodonal acne, improving that exfoliation and that cell turnover is going to become the main focus here.
Mhm. When you start thinking this way, acne treatment becomes much more strategic and a little less overwhelming.
I agree. All right, so your homework this week is to create a chart with 3 columns. First one is reduce sebum, second, reduce inflammation, and the third, increase cell turnover.
And then I want you to take a look at the products that you offer. Look at their ingredients and see if they can fit into these three categories. Are you recommending products to your acne clients in each of these categories? If not, start developing an at home acne protocol that aims to treat these three concerns.
You really have to understand what a product's doing and how the ingredient works in the skin to really help with your acne clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Skin Instructors. Just a reminder that if you haven't joined our community, the Skin Instructors Extra Credit, hop onto our website at www.sttraining.com. It's $5 a month, and we provide you with tons of resources on there. You won't regret it.
hmm And we love hearing from you. So if you have questions, shoot us a message. If there's topics that you want to hear in the future, let us know. And be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And then follow us on Instagram at SD Training.
We'll see you next week.
And remember, don't hesitate to educate.